Hello everyone. Today we're going to be working on the Hermit. The Hermit is associated with the sign Virgo. Now, the Virgo is an earth sign, so we can think about groundedness, the physical world, physical manifestation. We can also think of organization, processes, and ultimately our physical world and moving forward with manifestation. So the Virgo can also be assigned to the processes and the Virgin, because Virgo in Latin means the maiden or the virgin. Now, we can draw conclusions to an association to the Virgin Mary. And as we keep going in our talk about the Hermetic Kabbalah, it will make more sense. So next I want to bring attention to the letter Yod. Oh, this is the Virgo, by the way, the sign of Virgo. This is Yod, this letter here, and Yod means the hand of God. So hands connect things. They also have the experience of touch. They basically create in an outward fashion. And that lines up really well with the sign Virgo, being an earth sign, a sign of manifestation, projects, organization, and ultimately the Virgin, because the Virgin is untouched. She is pure. She is a maiden, ready. Well, maybe not necessarily ready, but she's a maiden. She's a maiden that has potential in her womb of manifestation. So here we have the path of Yod, which sits in between Hesed and Tiphereth, which is the powers of Jupiter and the powers of the sun. Now, Hesed is the giver of the tree of life, and so it is associated with the powers of Jupiter, which basically is the father of the astrological symbols, that is ever giving, ever bearing his wisdom, and always showing compassion and mercy onto any type of circumstance and any type of happenings that are going on in one's life. Now, the sun, or Tiphereth, is associated with the Christ consciousness, and it's associated with illumination, rebirth, life, patterning, and essentially consistency in spiritual force. Because it has to do with the Christ consciousness, we can draw deductions of illumination, enlightenment, and ultimately life. So it is a sign that connects everything. Now, rewinding back to the Virgo and the Hermit being assigned to Virgin energy, essentially the Hermit, or in Hermetic Kabbalah with the letter Yod, meaning the hand, is representing the connection between the Virgin Mary, or God, and his ever merciful force, finding the earth power, or the element of earth, and bearing the Christ consciousness through the Virgin Mary. Now, everything in our reality is created as a virgin. We are born virgins. We are pure. We are full of soul and pure spiritual energy at our conception and when we are born. Now, to get even more esoteric, Think about elemental energies, combining and recombining. Would not an element that combines and recombines, wouldn't the new form be virgin? Wouldn't the new created element or chemical be holding a virgin power, untouched, unscathed, and initially conceived? So essentially, this path represents the will behind our cosmos moving forward with the powers of virginity, of pureness, of pure spiritual force, which means that we are living in God's reality. We are living in the creation of purity. And it is ever giving, it is ever merciful, it is ever showing us the way to the Christ consciousness. So the Hermit is associated with 9. 9 is a number of attainment, completion, and experience. Okay, moving on. This is the actual Hermit card from the Rider-Waite deck. And as I said, the Hermit is associated with number 9. And to begin our conversation on the pictorial imagery, let's look at the lamp. Now, the lamp has a 6-pointed star inside of it, which represents the powers of Tippereth, the Christ consciousness, the unification of the above and the below. Now, if we think about it, 9 has experienced the 8 previous paths of single digits. So therefore, the 9 holds combinations for everything preceding it, everything after it. The 9 can be thought of as the attainment of all numbers and the knowledge that is concealed within, but also experienced without. The 1 simply conceals all numbers. The 9 has experienced them, but also holds them within inside of it. Now, we can start to see how complex this really is, but we're watering it down. So if you think about it, our entire reality, our material, physical reality, is the number 9. It is attained, but it also holds potential. It is seen possibilities, but it also has infinite possibilities after that. Now, one would say, well, why is the 9 associated to Virgo energy, which is virgin energy? And the reason being is because the 9 is constantly recreating itself. It's constantly breaking down into the other digits to create double digits, triple digits, which are virgins in themselves. So the lamp represents the Tippereth power, the coming to illumination of everything being pure. And the Hermit holds it in his hand to show others the way to where he stands. Now, to gain awareness of the Christ consciousness, one has to be aware of God, basically touching and being in every little thing that we do and see and say, and see the beauty in all things. Illuminate our minds with the beauty of life, of just simply breathing, simply touching a piece of wood or a beautiful stone and absorbing the powers within it, absorbing the vibration inside of a simple crystal. Or looking upon a baby, a pure, beautiful child, and seeing the illumination within inside ourselves. Now, the cloak represents the hidden aspects of 9, the cloaked veil that can be unveiled. Okay? It represents the powers of wisdom and understanding combined to create knowledge. And when we have knowledge, we unveil knowledge unto the world. We are protecting ourselves and protecting others because some things are better insinuated than said. Okay? Now, the snowbanks here, they represent the solidified patterns of subconscious nature that flows from the high priestess, that is flowing down from her robe. Now it's solidified because 9, or the hermit, has experienced that subconscious nature. It has programmed it to the point where it has become a solid mass. It's no longer flowing. It has become concrete, and therefore has gained the knowledge from subconscious nature. It's created a communion. Okay? The staff represents the powers of the flame, the powers of inertia, the powers of fire, and the spark of life. Okay? It was formed out of nature. It was manipulated out of nature to become a means of support. If we don't have support in our drives and our energy, we are not going anywhere. We are not moving forward with our lives. So moving on from that, here's the Paul Foster case deck. Here we have the letter Yod, the hand of God. We have the 9. And in his rendition, he placed a Yod on the head. And ultimately, God is within ourselves. It's within our minds. It's within our understanding and our outlook and our brains and how we see the world. And that's what that represents. So moving on. Here we have the Manly P. Hall deck. And I'd like to just point out one thing. The hermit is being led by a snake. Now, the snake represents the serpent power, the Kundalini force, which is the spiritual awakening within and conquering the reproductive energy and exerting it outward. Now, when I say the reproductive energy, I don't mean sex. I could mean, but there is a deeper esoteric meaning to the reproductive energy. It is the ability to reproduce thought in others. Now, Jesus and Buddha were said to have conquered this serpent power. That is because they had conquered the ability to show others the way. They conquered the ability to reproduce their spiritual thinking in others. Reproduction is not only a sexual force, it is an intellectual force. It is a spiritual force. There are many different ways to reproduce. When we share a plan with others, we reproduce. Thomas Edison conquered the powers of the serpent energy. He was able to reproduce his thought and his scientific ideas in others. And look, now we are using the powers of illumination, the powers of electricity. So moving on. Now, I'd like to bring out the Visconti tarot, and this is the one from the 1400s. As you can see, the little yods are on the robe, and instead of a lamp, we have an hourglass. Now, the significance of the hourglass represents that the 9 is coming to an end. It's coming to a restarting point, a means of attaining what it was and restarting its adventure into knowledge, into wisdom, into understanding. It's a constant reformation. It's a constant means of refinement. Now, time is a material world construct. It's something that is keeping our material bodies bound to earth. Okay? The hermit has surpassed that, and he holds the time for others. He doesn't hold the time for himself. The hermit has already attained that spiritual illumination. The hermit has conquered the snake power. And he lives through many different fragments of that thing. Okay. Now we're going to look at the Mersai deck. And there aren't really many details I'd like to show here except the blue force, which represents Hesed, and of course the yellows, which represent Tiphereth. Okay, now we're going to move into the Mr. Crowley card. And here we have the Spermazoa, which represents the giving force, the powers that keep things moving forward, powers that extend into the future, past and present. We have the Orphic Egg, which represents essentially the potential of everything inside of it, the potentials for life hatching and rehatching, and the conception of our reality. So 9 represents the step into 10, and it essentially is the step into double digits or physical manifestation, because 10 is Malkuth in the Tree of Life. And here we have the light, which he faces away from because he shines it onto others. But I have another interpretation that the hermit can't see into the light because he will be blinded by his own means of creation, by his own means of bringing things into manifestation, represented by the wheat. Okay, and last but certainly not least, the Hermetic Tarot. And I'm just going to point out one detail here is the powers of Jupiter and the powers of severity. The severity is piecing off here, and Jupiter is shining down. And we have Mercury, which is exalted and ruled in Virgo. And again, we have the serpent power, the wheat of manifestation, which is tying back into the Empress, because 3 times 3 is 9, so there's a lot of Empress energy here. And also the fact that the Hermit's feet sit at foundation, which is number 9 in the Hermetic Kabbalah. Okay, I hope everyone enjoyed the video, and have a nice night.